Well, Jack, you had a road trip back to your roots.
That's would be the best way to describe it, Daryl. Yep, we decided based on the fact that we had a niece getting married. We built a trip around that. That was the end of the road trip, and then we worked backwards. We
So
decided
you returned to the roots of Wisconsin, and I'm not really buying that wedding kind of thing. I think you had this trip planned, and you planned the wedding around this road trip as opposed to the other.
well,
But
certainly my niece planned their wedding, and
yeah,
then it worked out very fine schedule-wise for me and my wife that we could make this trip and take 8, 9 days,
yeah.
in May to go back to Wisconsin and do many things while we were back.
Okay, so you went to Lambeau Field and you stopped into the NFL Hall of Fame.
We did not stop in Canton. We
Yes.
did not go to Canton.
Just went to Lambeau.
Well, we actually left when we left Norfolk.
Mhm.
Our next stop was in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And we took the opportunity to visit with some friends that I hadn't seen in 40 years.
Okay.
And Bud Olson, who was a groomsman in our wedding, a
Mhm.
former NBA player, and was an assistant coach with the Kentucky Colonels when I was there. And he worked in the ABA's league office as well. And we had a renewal of acquaintances from that group of people in Louisville when I worked there with the Colonels, the
Mhm.
Kentucky Colonels of the ABA. And it was just a fun, fun night. That was a great time. You can
Yeah.
imagine not having seen somebody for 40 years.
No, I can't, Jack, because if I haven't seen someone for 40 years, we were in like the first grade. I don't really
Okay, you
remember.
wouldn't remember that. Yeah,
No,
right.
now, did you also, was this because your wife Ellie wanted to go there and bet on the ponies or anything like
No,
that? There's
no,
pony
actually we
betting?
didn't. Well, there's tracks going on. The tracks
Yeah.
are open. The Churchill Downs may have been open, and when Churchill Downs isn't open in Louisville, Miles Park is open. And
Mhm.
then there's another trotting racetrack that's open. So they have horses year round in one form or another in Louisville. But then we spent the night, and the next day we just deadhead right to Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay, so tell me about Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
I mean, you being a stockholder, I mean,
Yeah,
I saw
admittedly
pictures of
true.
you on the field,
Yes,
and that's a grass field, right? That's not.
It is.
That's not the fake stuff.
It's a special kind of grass.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure from Bart
It is.
Starr's day, I've seen some
Yeah.
fumbles that mysteriously
Right,
happened
right.
on that. So you had some special kind of grass at Lambeau Field, and you went through they have their own Hall of Fame.
Packers have their own
Hall-
Packer Hall of Fame. Absolutely right. And it is very, very impressive.
What were some of the key things that you saw that kind of that stick out in your mind?
Well, in the Hall of Fame itself, they've reenacted, have a display there of the fabulous Ice Bowl that I was in attendance at back when they beat Dallas in the Ice Bowl.
Mhm.
And they have kind of an interesting display there, which really is kind of an interesting thing they set up there. But that's just one of the displays that's in the Hall of Fame. But all of the members of the Packer Hall of Fame, and they each have their own like little stall, so to speak, and they all have memorabilia. And they have different things from each of the players: shoes, helmets,
Mhm.
scouting reports, the whole
Right,
thing.
right,
And I have to share one with you about Paul Hornung, the great Paul Hornung.
right.
His scouting report when their scouts scouted him at Notre Dame, and it's right there, and you just can read it. And it goes on telling about all the wonderful things about Paul Hornung as an athlete, the whole 9 yards. And down at the bottom, in large capital letters, underlined with exclamation points, he likes girls. And over the course of time, Paul Hornung has been known.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting, but there's just so much to see. And they've redone that whole place there. They call it the atrium, where the Hall of Fame is in one section, and the entrance to Lambeau Field is right there. And the Packer administrative offices and coaching staff, they're all right in that same facility.
Mhm.
And very, very interesting. And you're just looking around and seeing people walking by, and it could be anybody because it's all right there. Everything
Right.
is right there. And it's just so very, very impressive. And it's all done in such a first-class way.
I can imagine that, certainly the Dallas Cowboys Stadium is certainly state of the art, but
Sure.
here when you're returning to Lambeau Field, it's much more nostalgic, and because they've maintained that character of what it's like to be a Green Bay Packer,
The tradition, it reeks of tradition, Daryl, in there. We were downstairs in the tunnel leading to Lambeau Field itself. And, there's a thing on the walls where players touch it. You see the thing with Notre Dame, they've got a thing. Right. Packers have one there that talks about through all the years, the champions that have gone through this. And then it goes right to the tunnel, right out to the field at Lambeau. And you get out there and you sit out there and you stand there and you look up and 80,000 seats. And they say it's not going to get any larger than that, 80,000. They're done adding seats. They're just going now about adding additional, creature comforts and more suites, but they're not going to detract from anything else. So it's going to be an 80,000 seat stadium, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, now, to get into this place, does it cost money?
Yeah, you go to the Hall of Fame, and we actually had received Hall of Fame tickets from one of our daughters many, many years ago. So my wife said, well, we're going to see if they're still good. And they were still good.
It's like a Norfolk Tides ticket. It's like a Norfolk Tides ticket. That thing never goes bad.
It never goes bad.
You can always...
And then they had the Hall of Fame person that we talked to suggested, after they found out I was a shareholder and all that kind of thing, and I had been at the Ice Bowl and all that kind of stuff, they suggested that we buy a tour package. And they had various tours for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes,
right.
And so I felt, well, a good hour would be just enough. That's all I need to do. So we took a tour for an hour, and that's how we got downstairs by the locker rooms and everything. We couldn't go in the locker rooms, and I found out later why. That's another story when I ran into a Packer later on in the week. But we were not allowed in the locker room. They could show us where the locker room was, but we were not allowed in it. And they had OTAs going on.
Okay.
And there were players. And so they said, sorry.
So it's not like the lockers are sacred. It's the fact that they have players.
At the time, there was activity.
Now, is there a place you can eat there, too?
It's a restaurant called 1919 when Lambeau Field, when Curly Lambeau started this whole thing.
1919?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the restaurant's called 1919.
It's called 1919. It's a fabulous place. It's open all day, every day.
In the stadium.
Yeah. And another thing about that whole setup there is our tour guide said, you can't believe the number of weddings. Last weekend, he said we had 5 on Saturday, 4 on Friday. And what a great place to have a wedding.
Yeah, sure.
No question. The reception, the whole business.
Well, I guess you got to be a Packers fan.
Well, you'd want to be a Packer fan if you're going to do it there, yeah. But it was just great. I mean, it made me so proud to feel that I'm an owner, so to speak, with my 3 shares of that Packer stock.
You're not just an owner; you're an active owner.
Well, that's true.
That's true. If you didn't go back there, you'd be one of those inactive owners.
Inactive owners. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So it was just a wonderful 2 days. It took us 2 full days, basically, to do all those things that we did at Lambeau and in Green Bay.
Well, Jack, thanks for sharing some insights here with your road trip to Lambeau.
But I got to share something with you, Darryl.
Tell me.
As we were in Milwaukee for our niece's wedding, the rehearsal situation was over on a Friday night, and we were staying at the Hilton Hotel in downtown Milwaukee, and that's where the reception was going to be and everything. Mm-hmm. And on Friday night, in the hotel sports bar, my nephew from Madison, Wisconsin, came over and said to me, "Hey, Big V," all the Wisconsin people call me the Big Virginian, Big V. Mm-hmm. He said, "Big V, there's one of your employees at the end of the bar." And I said, "One of my employees?" He said, "The running back, Eddie Lacy, is right down there at the end of the bar." So I looked, and I was way at the other end, and I looked, and I said, "Adam, don't kid me if that's not him. I mean, it looks like him, but from way down here." He said, "Big V, I'm telling you the truth, it's Eddie Lacy." Mm-hmm. I said, "Thank you." And I grabbed my phone, and down I went, talked to Mr. Lacy, introduced myself. I said, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "But you work for me." Yeah. And he looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "No, I own 3 shares of Packer stock. And I just have visited Green Bay, Lambeau, everything up there for the last 2 days. But we couldn't get in your locker room." Mm-hmm. He said, "No, I just came from up there. We had OTAs going on." He said, "I came down to Milwaukee because I'm flying out of here to go right to Houston tomorrow for a signing session."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, would you mind could I get a picture of us together? He said, oh, no, one of our owners? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that I do have a picture with Eddie Lacy and myself, and it was very nice. He was a very nice young man. And the big thing with Lacy is he's supposed to lose some weight. And they asked me, is he losing weight, Jack? Did you see? Is he losing it? I said, well, it's hard to tell, but we'll see.
Well, Jack, sounds like a great road trip.
It was. It was a great trip.
You did some good stuff on assignment. Talk to you soon.
All right, Daryl.